Welcome to my ranking of all of the Call of Duty Zombies maps which have spanned across 3 games. Well, technically 4, but the maps from World at War have been remastered twice now, so there's no real need to return to that game anymore. With the recent release of Zombie Chronicles on Black Ops 3, I got somewhat of a nostalgic rush from playing all these maps and games because I was actually kind of young when these maps came out. And it was also back at the time where I actually had friends to play with, so I got a chance to play these maps in co-op. But not this time. Most of the gameplay here will be shown solo, as that's how I prefer to roll. So basically this will only be the Treyarch maps. I haven't played any of the crap Advanced Warfare maps, because all of them required you to buy their overpriced season pass, which is still full price to this day. And as fun as Zombies in Spaceland is, surprisingly, Infinite Warfare Zombies is actually really good. I haven't played any of the Infinite Warfare maps either, and I will not be including them in this video, because that means I'll have to spend another £40 trying to get their season pass. Also, it's worth noting that I will be referring to the Black Ops 3 remakes as the ZC versions. I will be starting with the worst and working my way up. I will be ranking them in factors such as size, learnability, strategy, unique elements, the atmosphere, fun factor, and also I'll be considering any annoying elements which may hinder the fun on certain maps. This may be a long video because there are 21 maps in all, but you can probably see that by the length of this video. FYI, remakes will not be getting their own slot in the ranking. Transit is being counted as one map despite being broken up into smaller maps which you can play individually. The Black Ops 1 footage was recorded on PS3, Black Ops 2 footage on PC, that's why the field of view will look a bit different and why it will look a bit jumpy, because I was using keyboard and mouse, because of course I was, it's a PC, that's pretty much the rule with shooters. And Black Ops 3 footage will be recording on the very nice version of the very nice looking version, I should say, of the PS4 Pro. Although I do own the original 4 maps and on 3 games now, I will be using the most up-to-date versions of those maps. Although I will have played a game of the older versions as well. I actually reinstalled World at War on my PC to give it a try, and it does not hold up well. The remasters definitely have made them age a little better. I dread to think how much money I actually spent on these maps. It was definitely way too much that I should spend on one game mode with only 21 maps, especially since Black Ops 1 and 2 are fairly old now. Also, all the maps I will have got up to round 25 or higher, because at that point most likely you would have done most, if not all of the content, unless you're one of those people that enjoys doing every Easter egg and every upgrade quest, even if the rewards aren't exactly worth the fetch questing. So keep that in mind, even though the footage may show me having a tough time at round 15 or whatever, because I promise you I did get much further. Also, it is worth noting that none of these maps I think are particularly terrible. The ones that are early on are ones that are just, they've got a few gimmicks which didn't really work out, or are maps that aren't particularly fun to play compared to others. But I just want to say, I don't think any of these maps are terrible, are awful, waste of money, etc. I think they've all got their own unique elements which are quite cool, but the only one you would have trouble convincing me is a good map is this one, number 21, Doughrise. Now, this isn't a terrible map, like I just said, even though this is the lowest ranking map. However, I recall this map being a lot more enjoyable and cooler than it actually is playing it today. The reason this map is actually quite low on the list is for 2 reasons. The first one, the map takes place over a couple of skyscrapers in China, which means you can very easily fall to your death without even meaning to sometimes, and it even happens when you wouldn't think it would. It is extremely frustrating to traverse a level only to die from a fall that is a couple centimeters larger from one that you jumped down earlier. The other problem with the map, is the map is just not very remarkable, and there isn't really a lot to it. The layout is confusing at first, but if you follow the power signs, you'll be fine. The wonder weapon is alright, but it's one of those annoying maps where it requires crafting. And this means running around, collecting components which are in random locations and move from game to game, and you also cannot pack a bunch of parts. And the parts are in places you would not know they were there unless you looked it up online. Very annoying, and it's a habit that these maps tend to have later. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but we'll get on to that. The map also has no atmosphere whatsoever, or any real motivation to keep going. The Easter egg song is pretty good, but that does not save the map from being annoying and kind of boring to navigate and replay over and over. But because it's really annoying to have to replay the map because you missed a jump or made a jump you thought you could make, but the game says no. Is there at least a fun way of getting the pack-a-punch? Not really. Turn on the power and wait for an elevator with it in to appear where you are. And try to find the right one, because the one that Juggernog and pack-a-punch was in the previous game will be different in this game. But overall, like I said, not a terrible map. None of these maps really are. I don't think any of them are. This is terrible. I'm never playing this again. This is awful. I hate it. Don't waste your money on this. No, there's none of the maps I think that. But this one is highly boring and can be very frustrating to replay when the game screws you over. Probably one to skip on Black Ops 2 if you only wish to buy certain maps. One thing that is cool, I guess, is that you can bypass some doors and traverse the level really early on, if you know how. But what is annoying is that sometimes you have two doors that lead to the same exact room, and opening one does not open the other for some reason, so you open a door thinking, oh, where does this lead? And you find out it's a door you've already opened. There's just two doors and they're both separate for some annoying reason. I hear the Easter egg is pretty terrible on this map as well. Not that I would know. Oh, I guess you want to know what the kind of strategy is. Stay on the roof and run around, I suppose. Get this liquefier as soon as possible. And yeah, like I said, I didn't really have much motivation to play this map.
Number 20, Transit. Wow, this one. Good idea on paper, and it has some nice features which stuck with the game and were featured in the maps after. But this map just had so many problems. So much so this is actually a hated map by the community. And I can understand why. Firstly, this map is basically 4 small maps combined into one giant map separated by big roads covered in fog and enemies that try to jump on your face and claw your eyes out. You can travel around using a bus to these areas, but it is a pain in the ass as the bus always leaves just when you don't want it to, and it's hard fighting off hordes on said bus. And if you annoy the driver too much, he will kick you off the bus, forcing you to run. So it's best to have stamina up on this map. Good luck playing this map solo, as it is obvious that this one was designed with co-op in mind, as there are things you need to do in one area which set off things in another area, making it somewhat necessary to split up and do your own things on this map. There is also very few places you can actually buy weapons off the wall. And, well, very few places you can actually buy weapons, period, really. The power requires you to craft a main switch to activate it, which unleashed a boss monster, a weird electricity thing that can disable the bus and make your vision blurry, and I suppose it can kill you. Because the fog and faces aren't enough, apparently. You basically need stamina to get around this map, as you will need to run past giant hordes of these zombies and the face huggers. Yeah, I know that's not really their name, but I'm going to call them the face huggers anyways, because I can't be bothered to look up what they're actually called. And it just can be a nuisance to get around. Getting the pack-a-punch is also a massive pain. And once again, good luck with that if you're playing solo. The pack-a-punch requires you to craft a weird portable wind turbine in the starting place, which you can place by things to power them temporarily. I don't know how that works, but apparently it does. The only thing is the zombies will try and destroy it if it's been placed, but you need to place it in a certain place, then run to another one on the maps for an area to open up so you can build the pack-a-punch. It is extremely annoying because you've got to do it so quickly, because if you leave it there long enough, then the zombies, well, they'll destroy it. So I was not actually able to get footage of me doing the pack-a-punch mid-round, and I was not able to get any footage of me getting the pack-a-punch at all, which was a bit annoying. The few times I tried to save a couple zombies, they decided to die on me when I was running through the fog as well, so you can't even do it. Oh, the bus can also kill you. The face huggers slow you down, and there is lava all over the place that can hurt you and make the zombies explode when you kill them. Being able to craft things is cool, but it adds an element of trying to find out where the hell everything is so you can craft it, which, like I said, and you're going to hear me say this a lot, it's near impossible to find some of these things without having to look it up online. And that is a really bad habit that all of these maps have. Now, there is some fun to be had on this map, and the individual maps are decent. So I would honestly say if you are a die-hard zombies fan, this is worth trying. But then again, if you are, you probably already have tried this and you probably already hate it by now. However, if you are relatively new to zombies, then yeah, don't bother with this one. Don't rush out to buy Black Ops 2 just to play this map. And definitely do not start your zombies experience with this, as it may make you dislike zombies entirely, because this is not really a representative map. Overall, this map is more stress than it's worth, but there is a bit of fun to be had here. The Easter egg song is also by the same person who did the Doughrise song, and it is even better than the Doughrise Easter egg song. Sadly, those were the only songs he did, I believe. Not that it's my type of music, but it's just highly appropriate for the setting and the atmosphere of the game, and works well when you're killing hordes of zombies. Number 19, ShangriLa. One of the most annoying trends started by this map was the constant use of multiplayer-only Easter eggs on this map. Hey Treyarch, maybe I don't have friends or refuse to pay Microsoft or Sony for their online service. While you can do everything you need to do to get to the Pack-a-Punch on solo, you cannot do any of the Easter egg or any of the cool time warping elements, as that is multiplayer only. They didn't seem to have fixed this in ZC either, which is stupid, because all you have left here is a very pretty but very claustrophobic and actually kind of small and uncomplicated map. The only reason this map is considered hard is because of how cramped some of these hallways are, especially when you're up against the two boss monsters that spawn. Instead of every 5 rounds or so, they spawn randomly every round. You have fire zombies, which start to deal damage when you go near them and deal massive fire damage if you kill them, and they also can explode, which can do even more damage. And you also have screamers, which can mess up your vision, but compared to the fire zombies, they're harmless. Both can go down after dealing a bit of damage, and like I said, they can be extremely hard and annoying to avoid because of how small these corridors are. It actually makes the map feel much smaller than it actually is, where really it's about the size of Kino. Maybe slightly bigger, but it certainly does not feel like that. It is nice that the map has shortcuts all over the place, and a special weapon of the map is quite unique, that being a shrink ray. It's also called the 32 JGB something, but everyone just calls it the shrink ray because the name is too long. And that makes all the zombies, including the boss ones, small, so you can run across them and kill them a bit like the grunts in Titanfall. While it is cool, the gun can kill you if you trample over a fire zombie, and it's also kind of weak until you Pack-a-Punch it. The map also has a few traps, but they are more annoying slowdowns more than anything. Also, it is hard to come up with any multiplayer strategies for this map, but the solo strategy is to run around the starting area, as it is the most open area on the map, believe it or not. Yeah, this is definitely one of the weaker maps that only got a couple slots above Doughrise and Transit because of nostalgia, the colour, and the funny dialogue that the characters say when running past bike traps and jumping on the geysers. Oh, you also have these monkeys on the map that will go crazy if a power-up is dropped. They will try to steal it, and as they are holding it, it will change. If you leave it too long, then they will run away and they will take the power-up and it's gone forever. But if you take it before they get there, then they'll come up to you, give you a little slap, and then run back to the starting room where they come from. I don't personally see the point, but I guess it's a way to get max ammo since you don't have traditional boss rounds on this map. But if it is round 30 and you're getting swarmed, are you really going to have a chance to chase a monkey for max ammo on a map this claustrophobic? Number 18, SaidToBonoshima. I heard awful things going into this map, that it was just atrocious and a waste of time, space and money. It's not that bad, but it's definitely one of the weaker and more annoying maps, as there are quite a lot of steps you have to take to turn the power on, activate the Pack-a-Punch, and build this map's wonder weapon, which, despite the fact you need it to fight a giant spider boss, and for the Easter egg, and for the compulsory fetch quest, upgrade system, you know, all that rubbish that the maps always include, the gun's actually pretty terrible and not as good as the bow or the Apothicon servant from the previous Black Ops 3 maps. You'll probably need to write down these steps you will need to take. You'll probably want to pause the video as well to do so. So to get the power on, you have to pick up a bucket, open the map up to 2 labs, fill the bucket with water, not just any water, it has to be the special 115 water which is around the map. Fill up these weird buckets in the lab to get temporary power. You then run north to the map into a bunker, open the bunker doors if the power is on in both labs, but if you take too long then the power will switch off in both labs, so you have to do it as quickly as you can. Open another door to the left, fend off a wave of zombies underwater, and then you can turn on the power. To get to the Pack-a-Punch, you have to collect 3 parts, 2 of which are underwater and 1 is randomly dropped by a zombie. That will be caught in a web-based body bag type things. Yeah, I'll get onto that. Then you put the 3 parts in the appropriate place and then you can use the pack-a-punch. To build the wonder weapon, you have to trap a spider in a boss round in a cage to get a part. Yes, the boss round on this one is a horde of spiders, but they're about as hard as dogs, so they aren't. Anyways, after you kill the spider, you then collect a plant, which is underwater again, and then wait for a randomly spawning zombie with a green spore on it to come along, kill it for the part, and then you build it. Yeah, that all sounds terrible and boring, doesn't it? All of that, I probably just bored you to tears by saying all of that. Oh, there's more. You also have a weird skull that does something. And you have an upgrade method for your crafted wonder weapon that also does something, which I hear is good. Yeah, I'm not going to go into them because I didn't have the motivation to do it. And I don't want this video to have a viewer drop-off point if it didn't already have one by me stuttering loads and telling you how to actually do this map. The only other things to know is that you have these weird enemies. They are like heavily nerfed Margwas and can spawn if a zombie is affected by these spores around the map, which can also make your character cough if you shoot it and all the fumes go into your face. And the spiders from the boss round can also web up areas, plant machines, and the gobble gum machine. There's also a giant spider boss. Cool, I guess. I heard that this map was actually being advertised as a terrifying and atmospheric map, like the creepiest map yet. Well, aside from the fact that boss round featuring spiders, which I actually hate in real life, is announced by a very creepy siren, something I also hate in real life, yeah, the map's not particularly scary. In fact, the atmosphere is non-existent. I would go as far to say Shino Numa is a better atmosphere. And despite all the fetch quest BS, the map isn't actually that hard or compelling to play. Number 17, Nuketown. This is a map that sounds a lot more fun and cooler on paper than it actually is. Nuketown is decent, but the charm of it being Nuketown and the atmosphere very quickly wears off. The map is very, very simplistic. I am talking Vruckt levels of simplistic, if not higher. And the map is also very dependent on luck, as there are barely any weapons to buy off the wall unless you count the ones behind the doors that cost a lot of money to open, and only have that behind the door you're paying for. The perks are also randomly dropped from a big mushroom cloud in the sky, which sounds cool, but the annoying thing is that you could get up to round 15, have 2 pack-a-punched weapons and speed cola, but there will be no signs of Juggernaut dropping. You also have an item behind a door which costs 3,000 points, which randomly changes every 100 kills. But why would you pay 3,000 and 200 kills for a fire sale or a double points? That only lasts 30 seconds anyway. The map at least has some decent lore behind it, but the thing is, the map asks the question of how the hell does the story of Black Ops 1 integrate with the zombie storyline when in Black Ops 2 and 3 everything's fine and there's no mentions of it whatsoever. It doesn't make much sense, but there are a few nods to a character that appears in transit, and there's a cool Easter egg that implies that the map is taking place at the same time as Moon. And if you get to round 25, the zombies' eye colours change from yellow to blue, implying that, oh, I'm about to get into the Easter egg stuff here, about to get into plot stuff here. Richtofen is now controlling the zombies, instead of where it was all that Samantha. But yeah, the story is really complicated, but you'll know my opinion on this story in a little bit. But yeah, that's pretty cool, and honestly, this map it's alright. But you aren't going to play it more than a couple of times. It's more of a gimmick map than anything. And once you get a game going, when you get to round 20, you probably won't return to the map. I was actually recording this footage on easy mode on the PC because I could not be asked to play this map properly to get to round 20 again, as I managed to get to round 25 the night before just to see this Easter egg with the eyes that I mentioned. And I have better things to do with my time, frankly. Number 16, Naxxterrantoten. Memories. This map is tiny. It has 3 rooms in it, 1 weapon box, a place to camp and co-op upstairs where you can buy grenades, a place to group for the solo strategies downstairs in the second room where the box is, and that's it really. It's simple and, well, it's fine. The Black Ops 3 version adds a random perk machine and also a simple Easter egg, which is always nice to see. It isn't some half-assed remake. With that in mind, the biggest biggest criticism with this map has actually been fixed in this version, as you can now buy perks. Mule Kick was added to the map on Black Ops 1 later down the line, but only if you were connected online, and only that perk for some reason, which always did look a bit out of place as the only perk. In fact, it didn't need power. Although I will say the atmosphere is definitely missing from ZC. Probably because the whole Nazi censorship BS and the lack of old weapons in a setting that's clearly World War II, and the futuristic weapons are just out of place. It's definitely a map for beginners and for those wanting a quick game and nostalgia rush. There's not really a lot to say about this map, frankly, other than the fact you can buy a mystery weapon from the cabinet, which never changes, and it's a sniper rifle, so why would you do such a thing? And the fact that the thunder gun and the ray guns are on this map, meaning a bit of luck you can become very powerful early on. You don't even have a boss round. You have these explosive barrels around the windows, but you don't get much points for shooting them and killing zombies with them, so why bother? The map is actually very pitiful, and the zombies also take ages to spawn on ZC and War. They don't take as long as Black Ops 1, but they do on ZC, and ZC is the version everyone's going to be playing now. Which is actually really annoying, because if you want a quick and simple game, and you're just hanging around waiting for these zombies to spawn, the WAW version also has a terrible knifing hit detection, where the game would try to stab zombies through the wall and through the barriers, and also the round transition takes a bit longer than it normally does with these modern maps. And the sounds are a lot different, and the zombies are a lot less growly, which actually makes it a bit more creepy, as it's got that Resident Evil subtle zombie hint in there, which actually makes the map a bit more creepy. The zombies are also a lot less aggressive than WAW, and the game was actually a lot more gory. It was nice to go back to WAW to see that the game was still called Nazi Zombies after they censored it on ZC, but we're not going to go into politics now. Also, the WAW version had wall guns that were also in the box that only costed 200 points. Wow. ZC also removes the Tommy gun, which is annoying. Well, not really the Tommy gun, the Thompson, because the Tommy gun is the version that's often seen which has the big drum mag. But anyway, it removes the Thompson, which is sad to see, considering the Thompson was used on the other Black Ops 3 maps, but then again, that was the Tommy gun. But anyway, especially annoying, considering the CUDA isn't very good. But you can buy the KN-44 upstairs, which is fine, and the MP40 is in the weapon box. Overall, like I said, a very easy map, and as you can tell, the gameplay, I basically got my run sorted out by about round 10, so by round 15, I was unstoppable, aside from my lack of ammo. Number 15, Vruckt. Another small map, but this one I have always enjoyed for some odd reason. I put that down to the creepy atmosphere which stays throughout the whole map, with the blood all over the place, creepy screaming, torch chains all over the place, and the ZC version improves that by adding way more gruesome detail to the map and by changing the map round sound effect to a creepy bell toll which they stole from Revelations. Might as well reuse the assets while they had it, I suppose. This map only has 4 perks originally, but at the end of Black Ops' life cycle they added Mule Kick to every map, which stayed in the ZC version. But they also added the random perk machine, the Wonder Fizz, as well. What's cool about this map is that there are 2 sides that's at the start, separated by a door which remains shut until the power is switched on. If you're on a co-op team, it will be split. It actually made a funny scenario with someone I was playing with, and someone who was playing with, along with another guy, said to me that he hopes me and the other guy get separated because we were annoying him in the game beforehand, only for exactly what you'd think would have happened, leading to me laughing like a maniac. The strategy for this one is to either group the zombies and run around the entire map, or hopefully they don't respawn. Hopefully they don't respawn, which is annoying in Black Ops 3 zombies. Or you can camp in the corner by the door near the power on the speed cola side, with the door shut, of course, because you don't want the zombies coming up behind you. As grouping the zombies on the map is a little awkward, as it is a bit of a claustrophobic map. You could do the kitchen, I suppose, next to the speed cola room, or the room with the stairs in. But like I said, the map is very small and cramped, so this may be a bit tricky. I understand this may be mundane for many, considering the complex nature of the later maps, but this was the second Zombies map that was ever made, so it's to be expected. Overall, the map is fine and thankfully undercomplicated, but it is small. It's also really annoying that the ZC version includes the sound effects from Mob of the Dead on the round end sound effect, a map we will talk about later, but it was also not put on ZC. Also, did you know that the World at War version didn't have the OG cast and had these random privates? Also, it was at a time before the games tried to actually be comedic for a bit, before switching to an alternate dimension and then being straight-faced and serious again. It was also the first map to have power-up announcers, the Teddy, power, and perks. Also, Quick Revive wasn't self-reviving either in World at War. There are no special weapons on the map aside from the ray gun. On the Black Ops version, you could get the Winter's Howl, which is an ice gun, which they didn't bring back to Black Ops 3, which is a bit of a shame. And the sound engineering is very off on World at War, and the zombies that are just spawning sound like they're literally behind you, which can get quite confusing if you're wearing headphones. Also, I discovered on a run where I was getting footage that a door somewhat hard to find with a bootlegger behind it. It costed 1,000 points and it's in the box, so there is no point to it, but hey, cool little secret. I can't remember what was in the World at War version, but I do remember something like that being mentioned. The only reason this map gets a higher spot than Nuketown, even though the maps are essentially the same style and feel, is because Vruckt has the creepy atmosphere, whereas Nuketown's charm and novelty does eventually wear off. Number 14, Buried. Map packs 2 and 3 of Black Ops 2 tried to replicate what they did with the first game. The second expansion featured a map with celebrities where a lot of effort clearly went in. We will talk about that map later, tee-hee-hee. And the third map being a small, not so enjoyable map despite some cool features. Buried takes place in a western underground town in Africa. Okay then. And yes, it is Africa, because if you have a look at the menu when you're choosing the maps, it clearly shows that the location of this map is above Africa, which makes no sense, but okay. That might have been an error in the map placement, but I don't know. It's very clearly Africa if you have a look. The map is kind of cool, but it's also very small and very gimmicky. You're actually able to obtain an LMG at the start very easily, actually, which is obviously worth doing, despite the fact it takes ages to reload, because it's an LMG. Of course you're going to get it. From when you drop to the underground section, you can run straight to the power from there easily and sort everything out. In fact, you don't even need to open any doors. You can just run straight there. The gimmick with this map is a giant dude, which no one can decide the name on. Some people say Leroy, some say Arthur. I don't know. I'm just going to call him this big dude. But anyway, if you give him alcohol to this big dude, he will go on a drunken rage where you can use him to break down doors. But make sure you give him the drink so you are the one facing the door. If he's the one facing the door, he may end up turning around and charge to a random wall behind him, which can get annoying because the drinks only respawn every round. You can also give him candy to make him attack the zombies, but he is also a massive wuss who will run and lock himself in a cage until you find another key if you accidentally clip him. What I tend to do is just shoot him to make him piss off anyway, when all the doors he can open are open, as it's really annoying trying to avoid him when a horde of zombies are swarming you. And it's not worth giving him the candy to make him fight, it's more trouble than it's worth. But it can be annoying when the zombies are swarming you, but he's approaching you because you picked up a bottle of booze. The 4 other things about this map to note is that the wonder weapon is this weird freeze ray similar to the Winter's Howl from Black Ops 1, but it doesn't have ammo and instead recharges and overheats. Pretty cool actually, if a little overpowered. You also have a new perk called Vulture Raid, which, unlike Tombstone from Transit and Who's Who from Doughrise, which were ultimately pointless, especially in solo, Vulture Punch is actually kind of awesome and definitely helps you out by making zombies drop ammo, money, and areas where there are green gas even, where zombies, which stops the zombies from attacking you temporarily, a bit like zombie blood from Origins. We'll talk about Origins later, don't worry. Why was this one forgotten about? They included Electric Cherry in the later maps, so why not Vulture Aid? It was a cool perk, and it also revealed where the box and everything was. It was awesome. Thirdly, you have an item which lets you time travel back to certain points in the game. So if you place it on round 15 and die and lose all your perks, you can go back in time. So even if you're on round 20, it does mean you've lost all that progress to that point, but you will have everything restored. Again, cool, but definitely gimmicky. Lastly, to get to the Pack-a-Punch, you have to go through a house filled with ghosts of all things. Not to be confused with the ghosts from that one COD game that was terrible. So on top of all the other things they put in the story, they now add ghosts in, and it doesn't stop there. Oh no, they add way more into the story after that. It's like they're trying to make the lore more confusing than Kingdom Hearts. If you get through the house, then you have a maze that changes every visit to get through. Before you finally get to the Pack-a-Punch, and stamina of all things. Surely Vulture Rage or Juggernaut should be the one that's here. Anyway, Buried isn't a bad map. In fact, it's rather fun actually. Just don't expect a massive, complex, or anything groundbreaking or challenging. Number 13, 5. Do excuse the sudden dip in quality, but we have gone from the high-res PS4 Pro game to a PS3 game. I remember this map actually being kind of tough. I think it's because of the much improved AI in Black Ops 3 that this game kinda has been left behind with the times. This map only has 3 floors, which are all connected by elevators and teleporters, the latter being active when the power is on. I remember back in the day there was always the one guy who would use the elevator on their own and abandon the rest of the team, and it costed, I believe it costed 100 points to use the elevator. I can't totally remember off the top of my head. And there was always an argument related to the elevators, because there was always the one person who would insist on using it and insist on leaving the other guy behind. The first floor is the floor you start with, that has no reason to return to later apart from Speed Cola. And the second floor is where you want to go to either camp in the Pack-a-Punch room, which I'll talk about in a minute, or if you're playing a solo level, it's perfect for running circles around, even though you have to open a few doors to be able to do so. It was actually doing this once again after many years that I realised the AI in Black Ops 1 is definitely not as intelligent or as aggressive to 3, or even 2 for that matter. The only other things with this map is that the teleporters seem to be random and can either teleport you to one of 5 teleporters on the bottom floor, or one on the second floor if you're really, or one on the first floor if you're really unlucky. Also, does anyone remember the fact that if you made crawlers by throwing grenades, they wouldn't bleed out? Treyarch didn't, because they don't do that in Black Ops 3. In Black Ops 2, it would kill them over time, and Black Ops 3, they would just respawn as normal zombies. Very annoying. It's probably because they wanted to make the bleeding time slower with their gobblegum microtransaction system. It's annoying because nowadays I'm always having arguments with the people I play with about not killing the zombies, as they are used to them being crawlers walking around instead of a full motion zombie. So they go, oh god, zombie, bang, and kill them. The boss monster in this map is also a zombie scientist that has 0 chance of killing you, but instead takes your weapons and tries to run for the teleporters. You can either kill him in time. You either kill him in time and get your weapon back, or he gets away. Either way, you get a max ammo, and there's 0 chance he can hit you. Just watch out if you have a ray gun or that really cool ice weapon, because he is a pain in the ass to chase, especially if you have an LMG which slows you down. I once was chasing him, and I ended up going in the same teleporter as him, but I went to somewhere different. So, obviously, he got away. Number 12, Shadows of Evil. I'm not actually a big fan of this map, as other people are. Although, I do appreciate the relevance to the game's lore and story. The problem I have with this map is that there is just so much you have to do to get to the Pack-a-Punch, which you have to do as quickly as you can, as the steps you have to do to get to the Pack-a-Punch get much harder if you wait till later rounds, as the strength of these weird flying things and the extremely vicious Margwas can just get insane. And I don't mean the little wasp things, I mean the weird demon things in the trench coats. The map does change a few things up though by using a badly explained curse mode, which I never really understood what the point of that was, which for some reason gives you tentacles and electricity and the ability to zap open doorways and break open doors, etc. I don't know why that's a thing, but it's one of those, it is a thing, just roll with it sort of thing. While I appreciate what the map was going for, overall the inclusion of the map and to the overall lore just overcomplicates everything to the series that's already insanely complicated otherwise. This is the only map where it's hard to relax, and if you play with other people, they will sometimes insist on doing Easter eggs to be able to get a weapon of some sort, and then do a bunch of other overcomplicated crap to be able to upgrade said weapons to make them slightly more powerful. Just let me shoot zombies stress-free, please. The map does a Mob of the Dead and completely reskins items such as the box and the pack-a-punch, which is quite cool, but I am not a huge fan of the style of the map, and also I think it is a bit too far on the overcomplicated side to try and pack-a-punch. How on earth people are supposed to figure out all this stuff on their own, I do not know. At least the map has a place where you can train the zombies, which means that solo strategies are functional. The map also has boss enemies, which includes these insultingly easy flying creatures that these not as easy but still easy wraps from the multiplayer, and the Margwars, which are actually kind of tough and can kill you if you aren't careful and if you're on later rounds and you don't have any decent weapons. In fact, if you're on round 10 plus and you don't have a pack-a-punch weapon, these things will probably kill you straight away. It's also kind of intimidating hearing them stomp around and feeling your controller vibrate as it stomps. But overall, the map is definitely middle of the pack, but I can see why people would like this map more, but I also see why people wouldn't like this one as much. It's fine, in fact it's pretty good, but it's overcomplicated. Number 11, Kino de Tozen. Just watch the viewer base drop off. This is actually one of the more simplistic maps because the teleporter and overall layout of the maps is much simpler than Doughrise, a map we'll talk about in a bit. The map is basically a giant circle with all the perks being easy to find and locate along with a pack-a-punch. In fact, I would go as far to say this is a very unremarkable and beginner-friendly map because of how simple it is. It's good for cooling down and warming up, I guess, and there's nothing really for you to worry about other than the gas crawlers, which explode when they die and make your screen go a bit blurry, a bit like concussion grenades on the multiplayer, and the dogs, but even the dogs look a lot tougher and a lot more intimidating than they really are. They are just intimidating looking and relentless, really. The only reason it's popular, at least with my friends on ZC, is because of nostalgia and the fact that this and 5 are the only zombies maps people had back in the day, and people thought 5 was actually kind of tough at the time. Overall, this map is actually very simplistic, and by round 20 you'll probably start to get bored and will probably have everything that needs to be done multiple times. In fact, I've actually had a couple games where I've purposely downed myself just because I wanted to refresh my perks. Also, this map uses the same round-ending sound effect as Buried, another map they did not put on Zombie Chronicles. Yes, I am rather salty about that they just dismissed most of Black Ops 2, actually, because some of them were really cool. Aside from Doughrise, I think we probably could have given a miss with that, but why not Buried? And Mob of the Dead, especially Mob of the Dead. Number 10, Moon. Watch even more viewers click off this video because I put Moon, a map they hate, over Kino. Oh my god, what is wrong with me? I remember when this first came out how exciting it actually was, because you start in the middle of a desert with a load of zombies spawning in, the pack-a-punch is behind you, and Juggernog, or Speed Cola depending on your RNG, is also over there behind you. So you can kill the zombies, which act like your standard round 1 zombies, before suddenly you hear a loud alarm and they all start running towards you, which is maybe not guaranteed to kill you, but it will certainly scare you if you aren't expecting it and you have no idea it's about to happen. Dogs spawn in as well, so you have a few things you can do here. You can either try to survive and get enough points to get Juggernog early on, or Pack-a-Punch if you really think you're good enough, or you can just run to the teleporter immediately and just call it a day and come back later to get those perks. If I'm playing solo, I tend to choose getting the perk early, but sometimes on a bad day it's hard to do and can get quite annoying, especially on Black Ops 3 because you can't just manually reset the maps. Annoyingly, you have to wait for the game to load back into the menu and load back in. The map also has low gravity in outside areas and on in inside areas until you switch on the power, which makes you slower, making you jump further and makes you jump slower as well. And also, after replaying the original Black Ops version, the low gravity actually meant you were knocked about by small objects on the floor, such as rocks, which can lead to your death if you aren't careful, as you can bounce into a horde of zombies and get killed.
The low gravity also isn't as annoying as or as prominent in ZC. You probably don't want to switch to power early on this map. You have these excavators, which are basically these big spinning saw blades, which every few rounds they will try to destroy areas of the maps and will stay in the areas, blocking them off, apart from the biodome, unless you deactivate them in the starting area. And each excavator has its own terminal you have to find, but thankfully they're all in the same room. Trying to explain that to a rookie teammate is such an annoying thing to do, because they're like, no, I'm not going to deactivate it. I don't want the hacker. Oh, I can't find it. You also have a hacker, which you can use to reduce door prices and change items, but it also means you can't breathe in areas where there's no oxygen. And honestly, it's more trouble than it's worth, frankly. Except from the fact, if you don't hack those excavator terminals, you can end up with scenarios where both tunnels are blocked off and no one has the hacker, so you're stuck in a starting room, and if you decide to teleport back to Earth, which I'll talk about in a second. I tend to just leave it if I am playing solo or with friends who aren't insisting on doing a stupid Easter egg. It's actually so annoying that crawlers die on ZC, because the whole point is that you have a slow zombie, so you have time to run around the map and collect everything you need to collect and do any Easter eggs. They probably took it out to encourage you to pay for their crappy gobblegum microtransaction bullshit. The only other thing with this map is that you can teleport back to Earth when the power is on, and get Juggernaut and Speed Cola and also the Pack-a-Punch. Best to plan ahead before teleporting, because the less you are there, the better. Also, actually, it can get quite easy later when you've both got really when you've all got really powerful guns and you can just stand in the teleporter just shooting everyone. But the zombies do get more and more aggressive as time goes on. It's based on time instead of rounds. If you have perks, you will lose. You also have these weird spacemen which will try to grab you and teleport to you if they succeed. You can hold the dual stick back to the dual stick. Yeah, the dual stick. You can hold that back to get away from them. But if they grab you and teleport you, you will lose a perk. You will lose one of your perks. Best to just shoot them as quickly as you can. Also, if you throw explosive in the windows, it will drain the oxygen out of the map and make it so you can't breathe in those areas and that you're back to low gravity. So try not to do that if one of your allies insists on using the goddamn hacker for the goddamn Easter egg, which is ultimately pointless unless you want a trophy. And even more annoying, that the crawlers die. Now that the crawlers die, you also have a very cool wave laser gun as a special weapon, which I only just managed to get footage on a multiplayer game for. I actually spent like 5 solo games trying to get this, and it didn't give me it. Eventually, I managed to get it. So I was quite thankful about that, where I had just given up, and then I played a multiplayer game and got it first time in the box. So I was like, okay, recording this. Overall though, Moon is a fun map, which is hard, but until you have the strategy nailed down. Then the map becomes rather easy and actually very enjoyable. Just good luck learning the map. I actually personally don't understand why people hate this map, whereas the other maps I can be like, yeah, I see why you don't like that. But I think Moon's actually a really cool map. I really enjoy it. Number 9, Origins. This one. I would honestly go as far to say this is the hardest map in all of COD Zombies. There is so much you have to take in and so much you have to do, avoid, and be aware of. And it really can get overwhelming at times. Firstly, the power is controlled by 6 generators, which cost money to activate, and you have to survive for around 10 seconds, more if you're a multiplayer, by a sudden wave of enemies, which gets harder the further you are in the game. And you need to have all of them on to be able to get to the Pack-a-Punch, which also requires you to open loads of doors, some of which are really expensive. I'm talking 1,500 plus sometimes. Secondly, you have these giant mechs walking around on preset paths, and if they step on you, you're dead. Doesn't matter what perks you have, you're dead if that thing steps on you. So do not try this level without headphones or without any sound, as you need to be able to hear where they are, and you need to be able to hear your quotes from the character saying, oh, the giant's coming this way. Because if you don't know they're coming and suddenly die and won't know what killed you, it will make you question life if you are doing a really good run and suddenly you just get killed by it. You also have these muddy areas on the map where you will walk even slower, even if you have stamina up, and you have areas to dig if you pick up a shovel at the start, but you may get a zombie or grenades or a pistol, which you may get excited by thinking is something decent and accidentally swap your ray gun for it. What? No, of course I didn't do something that stupid. Why would I do such a thing? I wouldn't do something so ridiculous. Anyway, you also have 2 boss enemies to deal with. One of which are these weird Crusader Knights that will try to disable your generators, and also are the ones you have to fight off when activating the generators. And it can get quite annoying. If you manage to kill them before they take one of the generators offline, you will get max ammo for it, which is quite cool. But if you don't, you get nothing. So you better hurry up to them. So it doesn't matter if you're sticking to one area trying to train on the zombies, you've got to do that, because otherwise you'll be low on ammo. The other one is a weird big daddy like enemy that will try to grab you, try to burn you alive. This thing grabs you, spray at it, and pray that you hit its weak point so it drops you. If it gets too close, you'll be burnt alive, which can kill you in seconds, even if you have Juggernog. And it's also guaranteed to drop at around round 8. So, if you do not have a decent weapon by that point, you are in for a tough time. And it's even tough for a multiplayer. Navigating the map can be a bit like trying to cross a road on a motorway if you have zombies, panzers and power drainers all after you at the same time. Which makes the inclusion of a tank car which you can drive around the map kind of appropriate. If you can't beat them, join them, I suppose. It's also really hard to have any strats with this map. You kind of have to work together in co-op to try and solve all the Easter egg puzzles and objectives. Solo players will have a hard time on the map, so much so the footage you are looking at might be a bit basic and might not have anything much further into the end. As trying to get far on this map can really be challenging, and is test depending on luck on what perks the random perk machine gives you and what the weapon box gives you. There is a chance it will give you a Mark II and the machine gun, which we'll talk about in a little bit briefly, and then you'll be good to go. But if the box gives you a Shiva and 4 sniper rifles, then you're going to be kind of screwed. You also have these staves which you can create, which have elemental powers. But trying to create these things is, say it with me now, an item gathering fetch quest which you wouldn't be able to figure out without someone else's help or YouTube guide. They are quite fun to use though, however, and it's worth building, and there are some that are worth building on your playthrough. I use the fire staff personally. I think that one's definitely the easiest to make and definitely requires less luck and BS to try and get. Overall though, the map has a great atmosphere, good ambient music, in fact very good ambient music that will stay in your head sometimes. And when you get good luck and manage to get quite far, the map can be a real blast. Just good luck to you, because this map is really evil. That's why I've spoken quite a lot. I must be talking for like 5 minutes now just on this one map. Especially compared to the rest of the map on ZC. One little mistake, slip up, miscalculation or distraction can ruin everything for you on this map, regardless of the round, and that's all your gobblegum wasted, and that also means all your real money wasted if you're one of the idiots that buys gobblegum. Other than that, the map can be fun if you get decent enough luck, and if you've eaten your 5 a day, done your good deed of the day, and it's not raining outside. There's also a really cool World War I LMG in the box, which I've only got like once, and apparently the Pack-a-Punch starting pistol is rather good as well. Not that I would know, there's no way you're making me keep that so I can only have one gun for this map. It's far too difficult to be doing such a thing. Number 8, Doughrise, or Doughrise, forget it, also known as a Giant. The first map to introduce Pack-a-Punch is a way to upgrade your guns with complex methods of obtaining set upgrades. This one requires you to link 3 teleporters to a main teleporter in the starting area of the map to be able to access the Pack-a-Punch. Of course, this means you have to spend a lot of money to open up these areas. The strategy for this one involves getting to the power and the weapon box as fast as you can, camping there until the box moves, and you have Juggernog before proceeding to link the teleporters and obtaining all your perks, etc. You actually get 25 points if you go prone by the perk machines in this one. And I think it was a nod to the fact you actually found $quarter underneath vending machines, I don't know. That actually sticks around in Black Ops 3. If you do it in Black Ops 3, it actually moves up, you actually get 100 points. I'm assuming that's something to do with inflation. But anyway, they also made it so it's not exclusive to Doughrise anymore. You can do that on all the maps and you get 100 points, which is pretty cool. It's nice, so if you're like, oh, I've only got 100 points left, I'm going to go pro near this perk machine. The map also does have an Easter egg, but it's fairly unremarkable and it's not actually rewarding. It is simply that, an Easter egg. Before Easter egg became story fetch quests. The maps basically imply that when you get to the Pack-a-Punch, you have beaten the level in terms of story. At least that is the case for these early levels. So getting to the teleporter is your way out, basically. The atmosphere was high on the very original WAW version. Speaking of which, did anyone remember that bug where if you zapped yourself with a Wonder Weapon, it would remove the health effect of Juggernog? It was really annoying because on WAW, Quick Revive wasn't a 500 point self-revive perk, so you could get easily screwed over and not even realise, making the gun basically unusable. Also, did anyone else remember when everyone used to call the grouping strategies rape trains? Wonder why they stopped using that as the common term. Also, a giant fuck you to Treyarch for charging £5 for the Black Ops 3 remake of this, especially since I ended up having to buy the season pass of the game anyway for the purposes of this video. There's not really too much to compare across the three maps, other than the fact the box is no longer guaranteed to be right by the power on the start of on the giant. The box is always in the same place in the Black Ops version than the WAW map, however. The lighting is also a bit better on the giant as well. Although that Easter egg where you have to shoot the teddies, that you could do for a bit of fun, for a bit of creepy backstory, and well, it's an Easter egg basically, and speculation. It's back in the giant, but they changed the voiceover and locations of the teddies. But yet, map is fine overall. It's not too easy, not too hard. It's good for a relatively quick and easy game. It's held up quite well, but just don't expect it to be Gorot Crew V levels of detail. Speaking of which, number 7, Gorot Crew V. I have to say, whoever's idea it was to include Ace of Spades in the intro, you get a high five, because that really gets you in the zombie slaying move. This map was a big improvement over Zetsubo. In fact, it's actually pretty awesome and has a better atmosphere than the map being advertised for having a creepy and scary atmosphere. I love the detail and the design of it around this map. It's just all so cool and fun to look at, and everything just looks destroyed and horrible, and it's great. The Wonder Weapon is also one of the most enjoyable and powerful Wonder Weapons in all the zombies. Probably third place in terms of power behind the Ray Gun Mark II and the Thunder Gun. Actually, I'd say maybe 4th place, because there's also the Apothicon Servant from Shadows of Evil. That's pretty amazing as well. It's debatable. Anyway, this map definitely has some complicated features in there, which you can do if you want to. But a bit like Doughrise and Drach. Doughrise and Drach? I think that's how you say it. Anyway, unlike that, a bit like that map, they definitely are not necessary if you want to get far. Thankfully, the Wonder Weapon is obtainable from the box. Hallelujah! You have no running around collecting parts to try and build it. I actually had a run on this map where I had Perkaholic, which was great fun, but I annoyingly died quite early trying to sort out the Pack-a-Punch. I know I was roasting the Gobblegum system, but you do get quite a lot of free liquid divinium, and occasionally it gives you Perkaholic. Pretty nice. The Pack-a-Punch in this map is actually quite fun and rewarding to try and do. You have to collect these cylinders and bring them to the appropriate terminals, that is after you've turned on the power, around the map, which will spawn a giant canister, shown very nicely by a green light in the sky, because it's quite a big map and thankfully it tells you where everything is. You then have to kill away the zombies before the zombies destroy the machine, so it can absorb so this machine can absorb the zombies in souls in, I believe, for whatever reason, and then you can pick up a fully charged module. Do this 3 times at 3 different locations, and you have the ability to summon a dragon. Yes, dragons are on this map, but one in particular is a bit of a dick and likes to set you and the zombies on fire. A part of me thinks that they should have saved the bow from Doughrise and Drach for this map, but maybe that would have made Bethesda tap on their shoulder. When you ride the dragon, he will take you to a house where the Pack-a-Punch is in a very cool sequence, which for some reason runs at 30 FPS when the game very clearly runs at 60 FPS, especially if you're playing on PS4 Pro. Bit odd. And when you leave, you dive into the sewers, which sends you flying back in a very cool motion blur ridden sequence. And somehow you survive a fall much bigger than the falls that have killed you in Doughrise. Yes, I am still salty about that. And what do you know? There's a decent place to actually group the zombies together so you can kill them, so you aren't running through small corridors begging to be surrounded and trapped. The boss round features these weird flying robots which are actually kind of tough and are much tougher than your normal boss round monkeys and spiders. And dogs, of course, lest we forget dogs. But still, they don't stand a chance, especially if you have the GKZ guns, which are the wonder weapon I was talking about earlier. Which I will say again, are awesome. The Easter egg does look quite cool on this map, however it ends with a trailer for the next expansion pack, which leaves a bit of a bad taste in your mouth actually. I hate when games and expansions end with adverts for another expansion or game. It just feels like they're saying thank you for giving us some money, did you enjoy your time? Don't worry, you can play the rest of the game that we haven't finished yet in a few weeks. See you then. Number 6. Revelations. And the viewer count goes down even more. Like SaidToBo, I heard terrible things about this map, saying how it was a lazy, easy and disappointing asset reuse. I disagree with all of those apart from the fact it is a bit easy. I agree this is definitely the easiest map on Black Ops 3, excluding the Giants, because that one was already done. But that's purely because of the minimal dicking around trying to collect all the parts for a crap wonder weapon. Yes, I'm looking at you, SaidToBo. But also, there are multiple wonder weapons in the box which are fun to use on Pack-a-Punch, a few new weapons that I hadn't encountered before, and the Tommy gun returns, but once again I must remind you that it's not as powerful as you actually thought. The Tommy gun is actually kind of a bad weapon. It just has a lot of ammo and it's decent when it's Pack-a-Punch, and of course it's fun to use. So the cool thing about this map is that it's a bunch of chunks from the other maps that I've made in the past, put together and connected using these weird jump pads similar to the ones in Doughrise and Vruckt. I'm just going to call it Doughrise and Vruckt because I can't speak German, I can't pronounce it in an accent. I know that's not how you say it, it's Doughrise and Vruckt, but I struggle with that, it hurts my throat. Anyway, you also have Nuketown and Toten as the main hub world where Juggernaut is, meaning you can easily obtain it straight away, thankfully. The reason that I disagree with people saying that this is lazy and just reuse assets is that they actually changed quite a lot of these maps. I moved it all around and added all these little details in. And of course they would have had to put everything together, make it all integrate with each other, and make it integrate with all the weapons and mechanics. And they also redid all the round ending and sound effects depending on the locations that you were in. They later reused these sounds in Zombie Chronicles, but at first when they only did it for one map, that is actually kind of impressive. And what's cool is that if you end around in ShangriLa but then run to Doughrise and Vruckt, then the ShangriLa round ending theme will play, but the round starting theme for Doughrise and Vruckt will play. It's a bit of a shame to see no new perks, and it is a shame that the perks from Black Ops 2 that were forgotten about, like Vulture Rage and okay, just Vulture Raid. And it's a shame to see PhD is absent. However, PhD's main effect involved dolphin diving, which was taken out of Black Ops 3. But I do miss not having explosive damage, meaning you could safely Pack-a-Punch the pistols as a starting weapon and use it for the rest of the game and use it as a panic weapon. Also, I wish all the wonder weapons were in the map, but maybe that would have made the game a bit too easy, because you would have constantly had a barrage of wonder weapons from the box. To turn on the power on these locations and connect, to turn on the power in these locations and to connect everything in the hub world, you have to activate these weird Apophicon generators, similar to how Origins did it, but there's only 4 of them, and they're much easier to activate as the enemies only come from one place instead of all around, so you have concentrated fire, and the enemies don't try to deactivate them later, thankfully. When you've activated all 4, you can then zap this giant flying creature, which is actually flying around the entire map, which is quite cool to see, to get to the Pack-a-Punch. But don't forget to free the Pack-a-Punch from whatever the hell that you would say it's trapped in. You can return at any time as well. Cool. The map also has one giant circle, so you can either do that to run around the map, or, which is actually kind of effective because the zombies will keep respawning in the new areas, so you've got an automated crowd control in a way. Just be careful with narrow corridors. And also you can run around Kino de Totem, which is the obvious thing to do. Because, well, Kino de Totem was famous for having a really easy training spot, and that same spot's back on this map, so why would you not go there? This was actually going to be a few slots higher, believe it or not, because I actually really had a fun time with this map. But there were 2 things which kind of got on my nerves, which knocked it down a few ranks. The first one is that at round 11 or round 12, you're guaranteed a Margwa spawn, and at that point they're actually kind of dangerous. So if you don't have Juggernaut or a decent weapon or an upgraded weapon, you are basically screwed. Also, the second problem is that the map has a few bugs which weren't patched. Naughty, naughty. I had one that prevented me from upgrading the Apophicon servant, which was called the Estin Apollo Estelo something. I'm not too sure. Something weird and Apothicon like. What's that? Oh, you could upgrade it in a Pack-a-Punch. You just had to shoot these things with Sky. Okay, apparently I was wrong about that. Apparently you are able to Pack-a-Punch that. You just have to shoot these things in the sky, which no one told me about, and which is impossible to figure out. But okay, there you go. And another bug I had with this game is that I actually got trapped behind like an invisible sort of corner on Kino the Totem when I was training, and well, that kind of screwed me over, as you could probably imagine. I lost all my perks. Just a bit of a shame. So, as much as I like the charm of this map, and I really did enjoy it actually, there were a few annoyances which take the fun out of the map. I would say the most annoying thing, the bugs I can live with, and it was only the one, and the whole Apothicon servant thing is annoying but learnable. But the main thing that kind of kills the map is the Mark R spawn, because that's, if you're not prepared, is guaranteed to kill you. Number 5, Shinonuma. My personal favourite out of the 4 classic World at War maps. Like Vruckt, this one also had a very nice atmosphere, a creepy Japanese jungle. This is the first map where a teddy bear that would move the box if you used it too much was introduced. The map was basically 5 small areas into one, separated by small swampy paths, which by the way looks very nice in ZC. The gimmick of this map is that you start in the main middle and you slowly open 4 more areas in the corners of the map. Each area has its own perk machine, which is chosen randomly, so you may not get Juggernog, a perk which is essentially crucial to your late game survival, until you have opened up the entire map. There are also plenty of strategies for this map, but both solo and co-op, and overall it's very fun. It's a very fun map that's actually quite different to the others. It's also not too easy and not too complicated, so it's perfect for simple play. This is also the first map to feature boss rounds every 5 rounds with the dogs. While they're intimidating at first, they do go down fairly easily and are actually very easy. In fact, sometimes instead of going, oh no, it's a dog round, we might die, it's, oh great, I've lost a round, I've lost a load of points because it's a dog round. If you're on solo, you only get about 5 which spawn at one time anyway, and they die after one assault rifle bullet to the face. In a way, the World at War maps are actually kind of nicer because it had a more grimy surrounding feel in the original map, and it had like bugs and birds flying around, which they did actually bring back in ZC, I did check this. But also, I think the World at War guns were better suited to this. I think the futuristic guns are a bit out of place. But Shinonuma, I will admit, I think this one's about as high as it is because of nostalgia, but I still love it. Number 4, Doughrise. Oh god, that hurts my throat. Okay, I'm not saying it like that anymore, I'm just going to call it Doughrise. I had to get my friend who speaks German to pronounce it properly. After Shadows of Evil was considered overcomplicated, Treyarch seemed to take a step back with the difficulty and make a map that does not require as much fetch questing if you want to get things. But if you want even more powerful, then there are things to do that are there in the map if you want to do it. The map takes place in a giant castle, and if all of the Tesla technology wasn't enough to make you think of Wolfenstein, then this will. So, Treyarch have now copied both Skyrim and Wolfenstein. That's naughty. Bethesda are going to be knocking on their door for sure. Wouldn't surprise me if there was a reference in there to Wolfenstein anyway. Anyway, this is definitely one of the more uncomplicated maps, but there is still plenty to do and plenty to collect in the fetch questing department for some reason, if you enjoy it. The best thing about this map is the inclusion of arrows, which are so much fun to use and are actually pretty powerful, even if you don't do the annoying quest where you try to upgrade them. Although I did feel compelled to attempt it at least once, and it is rather cool, as there is a bit that features you running around, wall running on moon gravity to try and activate these buttons. Getting the Pack-a-Punch is actually relatively easy this time around. In fact, it's actually harder to try and get the bows. So that makes the Pack-a-Punch, as the Pack-a-Punch is not really your priority here. So they've made it really easy. So if you only wanted to have a game where you only wanted to use a Pack-a-Punch and didn't want to bother with all the Easter egg and bow crap, then you can do it, which is quite nice because it doesn't force you to do this Easter egg, unlike Shadows of Evil. Really, it's only for upgrading the bow and arrow and the story Easter eggs where you really need to do that anyway. It can also be a bit annoying in co-op as there's 4 types of bows, and of course people are going to have their arguments on which ones they have and which ones they want to make, because some are harder to make than others. Do you remember when I was talking about those Panzers from Origins earlier? Well, they make a return on this map, and they're just as hard as ever, and they spawn after a very familiar siren, which will trigger your Origins post-traumatic stress. And they're just as dangerous as they were in Origins, and are capable of killing you in just a short amount of time. Only this time, getting the bow is easy, and they don't stand a chance against it. And because the map is a lot more open, they're a lot more manageable. Dogs make a return as well, and they're just as puny and easy to kill as ever, but they always have been and probably always will be, unless they make like a giant mutant one, which is a boss monster. If you want to know how to get the bow, then go to the 3 dragon statues and feed them enough zombies. Eventually they will go, and then you can pick up the bow from a room with the night coffin. You can do this relatively early on. In fact, I actually got the bow by around 6, I believe. I'm not sure when I get it on this footage, but I did get it quite early on. The map is also nice enough to give you a box early on, and the atmosphere and colour scheme is definitely good fun. It's nice to play this after playing a few games of Origins where the enclosed and tight paths you are walking on are replaced with these wide open castle areas. It's a literal Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Breath of fresh air. Sorry, I watched a few episodes before I sat down to record this. Number 3, Ascension. This is a fun map that's actually very easy to learn. Basically, to activate the Pack-a-Punch, you have to fly 3 lunar landers located around the map before launching the giant rocket into the sky. One of the first areas you unlock is a very round and open areas, which means that solo strategies are easy to pull off and multiplayer strategies can be done here as well. You've just got to shout at them to keep watching those windows, because there's windows on your left and your right. It's actually kind of annoying in ZC that crawlers don't bleed out. I am going to say that again, because it makes it much more frustrating if one of your allies kills the last zombie. I say this because the camping place on this map gives you a large view of these areas and it's easy to snipe zombies, which is what happens multiple times on one playthrough, which eventually led to our death. Because I kept saying don't kill the last zombie, and they did it anyway because they were at a long distance and they were getting a bit too trigger happy. I told them off, I got annoyed at them, and we went down, and it was all their fault. Anyway, I'm going to stop complaining now. Probably the most annoying thing about this map is that the boss round is these annoying alien monkeys which come from spaceships. I think that's what they're supposed to be. They're annoying because their intention is not to kill you, but to attack the perk machines, take the perks away. It is very annoying in solo, having to run around and try and stop all the monkeys. And you have to make sure everyone buys the same perks on multiplayer. The only thing is, if you survive a round without any of the monkeys touching the machines, you get a free perk, but it tends to be one that you can't guard, so you will lose the perk next monkey round. And then you will gain another one in the next round, and so on. It's very annoying. Just because otherwise the map's actually very fun. Oh, and another note, in the original map, the screen would actually go black and white until you turn the power on. On ZC it doesn't do that, but it does drain the colour saturation in the map. Also, in that first room, that thing in the middle can spin, which is guaranteed to hurt you if you are in the range of it, so definitely keep that in mind. Number 2, Call of the Dead. I remember when this map came out, they advertised it as if it was an 80s action film, and it looked awesome. Up to that point, this map has come out, and it's definitely one of the more complicated maps. It's pretty large, there's a lot to take in and a lot to open and obtain before you are able to get a decent strategy going. I used to play this map to death when it came out, and I absolutely loved it, and it is amazing on how much I actually remembered playing this today. The strategy I used with this one was to pack a bunch of pistols and buy PhD flopper, because this was the time where you actually had that and it would stop you receiving explosive damage, so you could use it as a panic weapon. They took it away because, well, you didn't have dolphin diving, annoyingly. Don't see why they couldn't have just changed it in Black Ops 3, but oh well. Oh wait, Gobblegum. The cool thing about this map is that you have a big zombie, which is quite literally George Romero. No, seriously, that's George Romero. They call him George Romero. in the opening, it's shown it's George Romero. Yeah, you can't make this stuff up. And he stalks you around the whole map, even during round transition. He walks slowly, but if you let him hit you, or you hit him by accident, he will get enraged, start shit, and he will scream. The screen will shake and you'll be stunned for about a second. And then he will run towards you until he cools down, literally, by making him walk in icy water. But be careful in the icy water, as it can freeze you if you stay in it for too long. Yes, it does affect the zombies as well. You can kill George, but he takes quite a lot of damage. You're going to have to use quite a few death machines on him. And it's also why I use the Pack-a-Punch pistols, because it does a lot of damage to him. And with PhD Flopper, the pistols don't damage you, so you can just go nuts with them. And the wonder weapon on this map is... actually, they're both kind of trash. You have a sniper rifle, which no one ever uses. And the weapon, because, well, who would use a sniper rifle? And the weapon that turns zombies into humans. That's all it does. It's useless. The only time you need it is for the Easter egg, which you only need to do one time, and it's actually possible to complete solo on this. It's actually possible to complete solo on this map. Holy crap. And double holy crap, you get a permanent reward for completing said Easter egg. Every time you kill George, he drops a Wonder Wafer power-up, which acts the same way as a death machine, except, well, it's a Wonder Wafer. The only annoying thing is, it acts a bit too much like a death machine. You can't get rid of it until it's empty, and you can't pack a bunch it either. George also drops a perk bottle every time you kill him, which is cool, and honestly a max ammo would have been nice as well. Ammo can get kind of desperate on this map sometimes, and there are a lot of doors to open before you can get access to perks such as Juggernaut. Overall though, the map is great. It's hard, but it's balanced, so if you manage to attain all the perks and everything, you'll probably get quite far. The only thing that might annoy some people on this map is that the Pack-a-Punch is always moving around as shown by a lighthouse. There may be some times where you'll be sitting around waiting for the Pack-a-Punch to choose a spot because it does not stay in that one spot forever and takes a while for it to respawn. But the game is nice enough to tell you where it respawns by flashing the screen red, so it will tell you when the Pack-a-Punch is finally choosing a spot. And then the lighthouse will show you where it is by, well, beaming directly to it. Finally, I love the atmosphere on this map, and also the Easter egg, while annoying at times, is decent and is actually kind of creepy, and actually makes you appreciate the atmosphere a bit more. There's a bit where something way in the distance is pulsing Morse code at you, and it's just, it makes you question things, and it's really unnerving, and it's absolutely brilliant. It is sad that this map is probably long gone, and the only way you can play it now is Black Ops 1, because it used celebrities, and quite literally used celebrities as part of the game. But I guess that isn't a problem if you're a PC gamer. If you haven't tried this map out yet, I would say, and you're able to give it a go, I would say give it a go. It's worth the asking price. In fact, if next time you see Black Ops 1 on a sale, I would say buy it and pick this map up. The rest of them you can just buy on Black Ops 1 now. But Call of the Dead, definitely worth playing. And number 1, Mob of the Dead. I love this map. This is definitely the most fun, rewarding, enjoyable, stylish, and creepy zombie map ever. First of all, the game does explain to you how the mechanics work, as similar to Shadows of Evil. You have like a ghost-like mode, where you can only access and activate certain things in said mode. In this map, it also counts as a method of revival, and while you lose your perks upon death, it makes the map feel a lot more forgiving and makes the co-op feel progressive. Oh, by the way, if you do manually make yourself go into Afterlife mode, you don't lose your perks. It's only if you get killed by zombies where it's lost. So it's fair. It doesn't expect you to die, but doesn't take away your perks. So it's nice in that respect. The goal of this map is to escape the extremely well done version of Alcatraz prison by building a plane on the roof and then escape it. To do that, you have to explore the map to find the parts, which actually tells you right at the start, and it's actually all done in a very efficient and learnable manner. And while some stuff you need to do would be kind of hard to figure out without a guide of some sort, I actually can't remember how I learnt it all. It all sort of came back to me when I played this map again. But it's definitely the best map for fetch questing and for item gathering. When you escape, you fly to an area where you have the Pack-a-Punch before teleporting back. How does that all work? Well,
I'm actually not going to ruin it for you. I'm not actually even going to show gameplay of this bit. You'll want to experience this map yourself because it's just great. Also, the atmosphere and the music are just top notch, and the zombies look so creepy, and also the red eyes, they just look so great, and the zombies just look horrifying and they look like they've been tortured for years. It's marvelous. It's terrifying. Everything from the perk songs to the revival system to the box and the boss round has been reskinned and redone to add to the atmosphere, and it's great. You also have a lot of new guns to play with, such as the very sleek looking shotgun, the Blundergat, which everyone loves, which you can upgrade to either an even better Blundergat or an acid grenade launcher if you wish. Although some people debate whether or not that's actually a better upgrade. I quite like it though. You also get AK-47s, Uzis, and the Tommy gun, which isn't as good as people say it is. But it is still fun to use. Like I said earlier, the Tommy gun is definitely not as good as you remembered it being. The story of the map is also very unsettling and creepy. Yeah, pretty much everything in this map is unsettling and creepy. I think we've established that. And it's also a standalone story, basically. It's important to the lore, but on its own, this is a standalone story. So it isn't bogged down with all the alternate universe Apothicon mythology, end of the world, giant robot, Kingdom Hearts level of crap. That is way too overcomplicated in zombies, and that this mode has any right to be, really. Also, you can't get those reused George Romero screens past me without me noticing. I know that you reuse that sound effect of George roaring for the boss enemy. But anyway, this map is not too easy, it's not too hard, it's dripping with atmosphere. And overall, it's just an absolute blast, and I was extremely sad to see this not remade in Zombie Chronicles, as it was a part of Revelations, and they basically said this is important to the lore. The guns added are unique and fun to use. The map is very learnable and memorable. It is my personal favourite zombies map. The only gripe I have is that I have had a few cheap deaths where a zombie has double swiped me. They seem to be a bit more aggressive in this one, probably because you get more chances of actually reviving yourself, as you don't have quick revive, but you can revive yourself through the afterlife. Fair enough, I suppose. And they reuse sounds, as I said earlier. The boss enemy is a bit easy, but he's suitably creepy and works well with the map. And if you're playing a custom game, let's say you want to play on easy mode, because, well, you can't be asked to play a serious game, then you can't hold the play parts all at once, which you can do on solo. On multiplayer, you've kind of got to say, you take that, I'll take that, he takes that, etc. So everyone can only carry one part at once. On solo, you can carry all of them at once, but if you're playing a custom game on your own, you've still got to pick them up one by one, which can get very tedious going back and forth. Getting apart, going back, putting it in place, going back, and it can just get really irritating. Other than that though, Mob of the Dead, favourite map ever. And there you have it. Wow, this video ended up being quite long, but I guess that serves that right. The script of this video was actually quite long. My god. So, if you have a different opinion to me, feel free to place it in the comments. If you feel like having a go at me for it, then also feel free to place it in the comments. I will be reading it all, but if you're gonna be a dick about it, then I really don't care. You can do it if you want, but I probably will read it. Probably not gonna be offended by it though, because, well, I don't care what you have to say. Unless it's something interesting, unless it's a serious conversation about what you think, then I am very interested. I'm all ears. But if you're just gonna have a go at me because I put ShangriLa as the second worst and I only put Kino in the middle, I don't care. So, thank you very much for watching. Depending on how well this video does, I'll probably do some more videos like this. I had a lot of fun making this video and I spent a lot of money on it. Thank you if you managed to make it this far. I understand this is quite a long video. I tend to do this quite a lot. I also apologise for not uploading in a long time. I've just been busy. And also the games I've been playing have been very long. I managed to beat Persona 5. Wow, that game's long. But I think we all know that by now. But yeah, that's everything from me. I will see you later.